What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the FN Studios. I am John Ramdeen. He is Robin Black. And coming up over the next 9 weeks, there is a slew of UFC action. Of course, everybody is anticipating August 20th as the big show, UFC 202, going down at the T-Mobile Arena in Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada. And we are going to talk about the main event at nauseum. Of course, Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz. But when you look at, because quite frankly, that is the fight that everybody's looking at. And when you look at the undercard of this incredible fight night, this amazing bout card, you look at the co-main event, Anthony Rumble Johnson, Glover Teixeira, Donald Cowboy Cerrone, and Rick Story. These are fights that people aren't even talking about because of the magnitude of the main event. Why would you even want to be a part of this card if you're a guy like Donald Cerrone? Is it the fact that, okay, we know that Conor's on the card, we know that Nate Diaz is on the card, they're going to bring a hell of a lot of spotlight, go out there, thrill the fans, and we get to benefit, kind of like what Robbie Lawler and Rory McDonald got to do when they had that big press tour with Jose Aldo and Conor McGregor, where Brian D'Souza almost wrecked the night of Dana White. And of course, Robbie Lawler and Rory McDonald got to sit back, but on the night of the fight, they provided fight fans with one of the greatest moments, one of the greatest 5-round battles ever in history.
Well, yeah, absolutely. For one, for Donald, he don't give two poops what card he's on. You got someone I can fight, and you'll pay me to fight them, I'll fight them. He's got Rick Story to fight. Yeah. That is an awesome fight, a crazy fight, very tough one. Although we thought that Pat Cote was going to be a real tough fight for Donald at 170, and Donald just went right through Pat, and no one ever does that to Pat. But the question is, why does the UFC put these fights on there? It's because if you are going to have 1.5 million people pay to watch, you want to give them the best show you can. Yeah. A lot of these people are people who don't go and consume every UFC show. So just remind them why they got to see the show. So that's, I think, why they do it. As far as Conor and Diaz, for me, I am about to shoot my second of 2 breakdowns. We're 11 days out, deep in analysis. For me, this is 9 minutes and 12 seconds of the greatest combat fight ever, because there's so many interesting things. And yes, it's not as exciting as this fight. It's not as crazy as that fight. There's all types of other fights, but just for the drama, the tension, the back and forth, and all the little subtexts of this story, how you slip the punches, how you counter the punches, how Diaz manages range, what he does with the shoulder roll, and the push and the pull of the fight, and the swings of momentum, the wide swings of momentum. That is 9 minutes and 12 seconds. You have to go back and watch. And this once-in-a-lifetime fight is about to become a twice-in-a-lifetime masterpiece. And I can't wait to see it. It's still not 10 or 11 days away, but I'm already going crazy.
A cool theme here. Donald Cerrone did fight at 155 pounds, moves up to 170 pounds to take on Rick Story. Nate Diaz fought at 155 pounds, goes up to 170 pounds. Conor McGregor, the 145-pound champion, going up. We know that Dominic Cruz, I'm quickly running out of challengers at 135 pounds. Maybe I should go up to 145 pounds and get some big money fights. Do you like this? When you look at mixed martial arts, do you think, you know what, give me the most entertaining fighters in the best matchups possible, or do you want to see somebody dominate a weight class?
So first thing before I address that is, while you were saying that, I just remembered, Donald looked at you while you were holding the mic on Ottawa, the field in Ottawa, interviewing him, and he said, how about I call out the winner of Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor? How about I fight that guy next? Of course, he's got to fight Rick Story, but I do recall him telling you that. So that's a fight that makes sense for him to be on this card.
And it makes sense for the fans. We're trying to find the biggest fights possible. The UFC is continuing to grow, and the only way is by giving the fans the fights they want to see.
So, and that brings us back to that other part of the conversation, guys, jumping around weight classes and stuff. There's a certain segment of fans who love the order. They love to make sense of things. Who is the top 10? Who are the best pound for pound? What order do these guys come in? Who's next in line for the title? A lot of people really are into that. Those people hate this conversation because it breaks up all the order that they like. If Nate Diaz were to win and Donald were to win, of course, Donald already beat him and he'd love that fight back. If Conor were to win and a Cowboy called him out, of course everybody would love that. The UFC would love it. But the people who like order would hate it. He's got to fight Aldo next. There's an interim thing. What about 55? This guy's got to... We spend a lot of time saying what these fighters got to do. Tyron Woodley's got to fight Stephen Thompson. I think he should fight Stephen Thompson. But Tyron Woodley will fight who he wants to fight unless the UFC forces his hand otherwise. And these are people who don't got to do anything unless you, the fan, screams and yells and really freaks out and it gets to them. But for the most part, these guys want to make lots of money and have great adventures. Some of them want belts, some of them don't.
When you look at a UFC 202, I think that is kind of the end of the road for people because that's what people are thinking about. It's like, well, when is Ronda coming back? Well, it doesn't look like Ronda's coming back anytime soon. We got to focus on something else. We're fixated on the rematch between McGregor and Diaz. When we look what's coming after that, we have Carlos Condit and Damian Maia in Vancouver. Anthony Pettis making his 45-pound debut. Then we have Josh Barnett taking on Andrei Arlovski. And if you're in Canada, you get to watch that live right here. And of course, that should have title implications. And then the week after that, you have Stipe Miocic looking to defend his title in Cleveland against a more cautious, a more calculated, the best version of Alistair Overeem we've ever seen. And I would not be surprised if we saw a new heavyweight champion crowned in Cleveland.
Well, that's a pretty close fight. That's one we tell our betting friends not to bet on. Although with heavyweights, you shouldn't be betting on heavyweights anyways. These guys knock each other with one shot. I'm excited about Diaz versus Condit, man. Or not Diaz, Maia versus Condit. I'm down with that too, though. Damian Maia on the ground. It's hot lava all the time. But Condit, I think, will believe he can hang there. And in fact, on the feet, Condit is somebody you don't want to mess with. Condit has some advantages, and I think he can play with Maia, but it's a very tough fight, and I can't wait to see it.
Is it a misconception? I think when in mixed martial arts, you got to train your stand-up, you got to train your wrestling, you got to train your jiu-jitsu, and everything in between. And some of these guys work with world champions in the jiu-jitsu game, the ground game, and they believe that they will be able to hang with a guy like Damian Maia or Jacare because this is not jiu-jitsu, it's mixed martial arts. But Gunnar Nelson, he believed that too, and we saw what happened when he went to the ground with Damian Maia. That's it.
Lava. Yeah, it's true. And that is the beauty of it. And yes, should Damian Maia always get better as a striker? Of course he should. But if he can just get through that space and get a hold of you, all that striking becomes irrelevant. Hot lava.
That is it for us. A ton of mixed martial arts action coming down the pipe. Don't forget to tune in Wednesday, August 10th, as we bring you a Nate Diaz special looking back at the career of the Stockton native.